Welcome to Generation Dan. Please go out with me, Felicia. All right. I never dated anyone named Felicia. Welcome to the 99th episode of Generation Dan. We have almost made it to the big triple digits. I'm Atlas. I'm your millennial. Who's with me?
I'm Dino, the genetic marvel, and I'm trying to go from triple digits down to double digits, God willing.
Yeah, that's not going to happen for you and I. Unless we, have cancer. Then
Or,
yeah.
I could maybe learn how to float. You don't know. Maybe I have hollow bones like a bird.
I was going to say, you probably float easier now than when you lose weight.
I was extremely buoyant as a fat person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And now I worry that I might sink. What if I'm in a boat and it? Oh, thanks for that. Really appreciate
That's
that.
the thing where you die, you show up at the gates of hell, and the devil is like, you gave up your fat so that you could be skinny. But where did that lead you? Right to me. Get in there.
Man, who knew water was my Achilles heel?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, how many times people be like, "Oh, you should wear a life vest." I'm like, "Okay," and then I'm like, "It doesn't fit because it would stop right here." And I'm like, "I'll put it on. It's no problem." But they're like, "It's not really gonna do much if you have a thing." And I'm like, "That's okay. I float." They're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." Even in freshwater, it's actually I would cross my legs and then if I would be floating about here, but if I held in my breath, it would go down. I would be like nipple height out of water.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
I just like the idea of the kid from It being like, "You'll float too," and it's like, "Yeah, I will float too." So I don't know why we're doing this.
We all float down here. That's how water works, bro. I don't know what you're trying to convince people of. That's a peculiar. Hey, what's up, walkie talkies are neat?
Yeah. So, gents, yeah. So today we're talking about first loves, first crushes, and that's.
I don't see. This is the thing: is that I definitely feel at some point especially in high school, right? Because of my upbringing, right? I'm drastically morally superior to most people because I saved myself from marriage, which is ridiculous. But I definitely lord it over people.
You sped past that like I wasn't gonna notice.
Hey man, listen, it's Jessica. Oh, Jessica, of course, Jessica Rabbit. Come on, that's totally reasonable. No, it's one of those things where I always tried, but also I was fat and had zero self-esteem when it came to people.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to stuff, I was like, I got this. And I would orchestrate groups of people to go hang out just because I was interested in one person. And
that is the goated strategy when you're in middle and high school. Definitely.
In all honesty, and I will say this to everyone, the best way to get to know somebody is in a group of people. It's that simple. Number one, if you're smart, you can tell if they like you. Mm-hmm. Number two, you can tell how they treat other people. And then it's not just because you know what? If you go on a date and somebody treats a waiter or waitress like crap, just leave. Just get up and leave. Whatever it is. If it's a man, woman, it doesn't make a difference. If they treat staff like garbage, just get up and walk away because that person is not a good person.
Yeah.
There are a million different reasons why not to do. And I'm like, there's been a couple times where I've been the mean person and I'm like, this date's over.
Just no. I just love the idea of you just taking the L, or I was mean to the. You know what? That's my bad. Here, have a good night, and then just bounce.
I have done that. I know. I drove them home, and I was like, all right,
sorry,
I don't know how to deal with because one girl was like, This is the funny thing. It was that we got set up, and I was like, hey, let's go out, and she was like, cool. Weirdly enough, I met her parents too, which I'm like, they were cool. That's fine. No big deal. And then we went for a movie, had a great time. And she was like, you're such a nice guy. I enjoy your company. And I love everything about you, but there's no chemistry. I'm like, I don't know what that means, lady. Okay. If you told me my thumbs were too long, I could just chop off my thumbs and we're good to go. But you're saying there's never chemistry and that's another language. I'm like, I don't know what that means. You got lady parts, I got boy parts. Let's do this.
It's her. It's the polite way of saying I'm just not feeling it. Not feeling it. That's fine. That's
You know
good.
what?
But also, women, unfortunately, have
The worst feelings in the world.
no. They have men raping them and killing them and stuff. So I don't
Hey,
blame her
hey.
for trying to walk on
So
eggshells. You're
number
a
one,
big dude. Like,
okay, number one, I take offense that you would
yeah,
assume that I'm a rapist slash murderer. I
no.
have only been accused of murder, and that is allegedly, sir. Okay, let's just start there. Number two
Okay,
is
I'm not assuming that you're a rapist slash murderer. I'm saying that she assumed that you could be a
I don't
rapist slash murderer.
no, I'm very careful about that kind of stuff. Like, don't
Okay.
I'm like, we shouldn't be alone together. Like, I'm a prude when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no, let's stay in public. When people are like, hey, let's go hang out in this
Yeah.
crowded, like this alone place, and I'm like, I'd rather not.
Mhm.
That's where people die. Like,
It's definitely a thing. Like once you're aware
yeah.
of what you look like or the image that you give off, which either develops sometime between high school and never, and like especially now that I have this, I
Hmm.
know that there's a little bit of a like he looks like he could throw me down a mine shaft. You know what? Fair, but
Yeah, but
yeah,
that's an overact. Like the I don't uh see, it gets worse if people have seen you fight. I'll tell you that right now. Win or lose, it gets worse because
fight as in argue or fight as in like fisticuffs. I don't know what you mean by.
fisticuffs. There,
I
arguing
just
is
wanted to get
arguing.
you to say
Like,
that. Yeah,
come on. Yeah.
yeah.
Like it's an argument is not a fight. Anyone who thinks that an argument is a fight, newsflash, it's not. Okay?
Mhm.
It's an argument. And it's words. Words don't this no. Let's not even start that one. But the when people see you become physical in a situation,
Mhm.
it whether you win or lose will drastically change how people perceive you. That's
Mm.
just standard. It's happened a couple times where friends saw me and they were like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" They're like, "That was a little bit crazy." I'm like, "Nah, it's a big deal." They're like, "All right." I'm like, "It's really not that big of a deal. It's just a fight. It's not a big deal." But yeah, no, that's like if somebody saw you being aggressive like that physically with somebody, and then you're like,
Mhm.
"Hey, let's go to this secluded area." Big, absolutely not. That is
Yeah,
not safe. Yeah, don't do that. Definitely, but I don't know.
yeah. So like, I feel like I got you super far off track. Like
Probably.
your first crush. What happened?
See, I still that's the thing is there are a lot of yeah, I'm a weirdo. Let's start there. Okay. So I don't I've had like definitely just okay, as per Walkie Talkie Jimmy, Jessica Rabbit is definitely in the top 10. Let's just
Yeah,
calm down. A lot of comic book characters, that's also true.
I was more hoping like a carbon-based life form.
Well, okay. Yeah, there's a few girls that I've known like there's two that I've known since I was very very Hey, what's up, John?
Yo,
Uh
what's going on?
this is we had like I've known them since like grade 1, grade 2.
Hmm.
And both of them are I've always had a very like I do care for them deeply. And I think like if life was different, maybe something would have happened. So I'm not sure if that counts. But those are two women that I'm like, oh, I've always thought fondly of them and stuff like that. But like life just didn't work out that way.
I don't know if that counts. Like, did you feel that when you were like in middle high school, or is this in like
From very
hindsight?
One of
Or
them, I'm pretty sure I looked at her one time and one of my testicles dropped. I'm 100% sure of that.
okay, yeah,
Hey man, it was grade like 2 and
yeah.
I am definitely like a specimen of Cro-Magnon man. Like there's no like I
Yeah.
look like I should top out at unga bunga wheel, unga bunga
Mhm.
fire, and that's it,
Yeah.
right? So it's one of those things where like there are at my age now, there are some women that will have approached me, and I'm like, please get away from me right now. Just get away from me right now, because I like it just, and I'm like, I'm like, this is no, thank you. I'm gonna go the other way. It's just they make you they just have a certain thing about them, right?
That gave me very mask vibes Like Jim Carrey's The Mask.
Kind of. Like
Yeah.
it's a pheromone thing. Like I believe in that. Like some people just have a scent where you're like, I feel uncomfortable in this situation, right? Like it's because other times, and also to protect you, right? Not only for love, but also for things, right? So that's why it's but as like I always assumed that I would be single my whole life, right? Because
Interesting.
that was just my perspective, right? And that's I lived my life. Like I remember I was 17, 16, 17, somewhere around there. And I had like 2 girlfriends, nothing ever. I think I kissed one girl.
Yeah.
That was about it. And other friends were getting hooking up with girl. Well, they started dating, and I nobody liked me. And I was like, and I'll be honest with you, I was praying and I cried and I was like, why not me? Why don't I deserve love? And then I kind of snapped out of it and I was like, hold on. I come from wealth. I'm 6'2". I am fat, but I am good looking and I'm smart as shit. You know what? No, I'm a catch. And if I'm going to live my life being the catch that I am. And if somebody's interested, I'm right here. That's how I'm going to live my life. So that was marriage number 1. It's kind of, I just did my thing and I just, she approached me. And then, same, I have pictures to prove it. Victoria as well. I was at a stage in my life where I was single and I was like, you know what? I'm not looking for anything, but I am more than open to a interaction. And Victoria asked me out on our first date, which she denies. She's lying. I have proof.
What's the proof? You got texts?
It's a screenshot of her saying, "Hey." So what happened was we went out as a group, and my buddy and his wife knew Victoria, and I knew my buddy, and I orchestrated a little group outing where instead of separating guys and girls, we could go all together. Wow. Yeah, I know. I definitely orchestrated the shit out of that fucking thing. So from there, when it came time to pay for karaoke, I just went ahead and paid. It was like $150. It wasn't that like it wasn't a big deal. And Victoria messaged me and she was like, "Hey, I really appreciate that. I'd love to return the favor. Where do you work?" And I was like, the funny thing is, I was living with a close friend, Laura, who was another girl who was not interested in me in any way, shape, or form. And I'm like, we're just friends.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I was like, all right, whatever. And I said, "Can you tell me what this is?" She goes, "It's a request for a date." And I'm like, "With who?" She's like, "With you, you moron." And I'm like, "Really? Wow, that's ballsy. Okay, let's do it." So I was like, "Sure." We made arrangements, and that was that. We had 2 dates, and we went out Friday, and then again on Sunday, I think. No, something like that. We went out Thursday, and then hung out again on Sunday, and the rest is history. But that was like, yeah, I never approach a situation that like even now I make the joke that I'm like, if anything ever were ever to happen to Victoria, I'm like, just whores from then on. I'm like, I'll never be any sort of relationship because I'm like, oh, absolutely not. I could not handle it. Right.
I just love like you and I have that same kind of view of ourselves where someone gives you a compliment, you're like, really? Okay, thanks. Like,
listen, it's getting worse now with the weight loss. People are like, "Man, you look great," and I'm like, number 1, fuck you. Number 2, I'm gonna need more information because I don't really know. Like, is it the shirt? I'm wearing a nice shirt. I don't know. Like, I always wore nice suits because I'm like, listen, they may not compliment this, but this is looking fine. Okay, middle not so much, but the rest top tier. I had cufflinks, the whole,
yeah,
I was very fancy.
Like, I started swimming for exercise.
Yes.
And Katie has been complimenting my body recently, my physique, and it's been very nice. But it is also very rare for someone like me. Usually, if I get complimented on what I look like, it's because, or like of my body, it's because I help someone move something. Wow, you're strong. Thanks. Like, that's it. It's not like.
Also, a classic compliment and appreciated from larger folks. Just
yeah,
really strong. Yes, I am.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know that this isn't all blubber. There's muscle under here. Not a lot, but it's there. Okay.
There's always that gym teacher that takes the fat kid and they're like, well, they're fat. There's got to be some muscle holding the fat. So get them to do strength training or whatever.
That was regularly me. That was regularly me. Dino, we need an anchor. Come here.
Yeah. Okay. Or like, did you?
You go to hell, Mr. Olson. You go to hell. You were a bastard, whether you know it or not.
You ever do a tug of war in gym class? We did that a couple times.
I was always the anchor. Like
it's always the fat kid who's the anchor.
Wait, listen. I remember like a lot of girls would be like, when women will admit how much they weigh. Like I know a few comedians that I'll make fun of them and be like, "You're like a bird. Like that's how I see you. Like you're just a flying thing that buzzes around. You're not a real person because you're very small."
Yeah.
And they're like, "I'm not small." I'm like, "Yes, you are." And then they'll say their weight, and I'm like, "I weighed that much in grade 5. So let's just calm down."
Yeah.
Okay. So I was also taller than you in grade 5. So let's just.
I wasn't especially fat until like 7th grade because it all happened at once. Yeah.
That will happen. But that's the crazy part about it, right? Like, so even now, like if Victoria compliments on my body, I immediately go, "Don't look at me, pervert." She's like, "Ah."
No,
I don't even have any boobs.
It was very unexpected, but very nice. In terms of like my first crush, right? So 5th grade, there was a new kid in class, and as we all know, in elementary through high school, the new kid is always like, "Ooh, new blood. I wonder who this is."
100%.
Yeah. And I'm not going to give her a name just because I don't want to dox anybody by accident. But I thought she was cute, and like you said, where it's like one testicle drops. Like I came online for like. Not thinking girls are gross, right? There's that moment that goes from like, ew, girls are icky to, oh.
Yeah. It's very traumatic, I find. But like it's also it's kind of that thing where you're like, oh, that's nicer. I enjoy this. Maybe too much. Maybe lock it down. Hey, it's getting weird. No, it's fine. It's good. So grade 5.
Grade 5. And then I don't know if I had this idea organically or if I was urged on by my sister and or mom. My sister because she wanted to see it blow up in my face, and my mom was like, "Oh, that's so cute." I left like notes in her locker. Yeah, I was 10. All right, I was 10. Being like. They weren't like love poems or anything, but just being like, "You're cute" or whatever, like Valentine's almost.
Were they?
I don't.
They weren't
know.
Like Shakespearean or anything, were they?
I was 10.
Yes, but you like words.
We just found out what Shakespeare was like 5 minutes ago. If I'm 10, right?
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
that would be you going, "I'm going to use that thing I learned."
Yeah.
Okay, let's be fair.
Oh yeah. No, did you ever have that when you were in school, or like you use something that you learned in school, and you're like, "Oh, this is why we have that." Cool. Like,
from school, no. From work, yes. From a lot of other places, never from school. School, I'm like, this place is stupid.
I've definitely done it for like arithmetic, where I'm like trying to calculate a bill or a percentage or something. Motherfucker, my algebra teacher was right. God damn it, like that kind of thing.
That's fair.
But yeah, so I imagine she thought it was creepy because she immediately figured out it was me, and
it decided not to make any contact whatsoever.
Yeah, it told me to fuck off. So,
well, at least she was definitive, and you know,
she told me to fuck off, and then like
aggressively,
not like in the middle of recess or something, just kind of pulled me aside and was like, "Can you just not, please?" And then,
that's very nice of her.
Yeah.
At least instead of she could have made you buy her lunches and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Later, I don't know if this was like her mom was like, be nice to the boy. He's he's on the spectrum or something. I don't know what the thing would have been, but she like was nice to me later in the grade, and then in sixth grade we were kind of sort of friends. So
Yeah. Well, see, I think women have a much harder time with that kind of stuff, right? Like, because men are not smart. Let's be very clear, right?
Yeah.
So if you show, if this is to everybody else, if a woman shows a man attention, a man goes, I can spend my life with her. Why? Because we're dumb. We're not smart, right? But
There's
at the same time,
there's that, and then like I feel like I can attribute a lot of like what my view of what relationships and asking people out are and everything to mid 2000s Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, which is not good for your brain.
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. Like,
no,
en masse, yeah.
It was not. I didn't get like an actual date until eighth grade. And
Hey, man.
and that it really affected my self-esteem because like I saw other kids in the grade like go out for 5 minutes with someone because that's how middle school works, and then there was that, and then like just all these ostensibly people my age on TV who like Corey and Topanga and that kind of thing where they just Boy Meets World. No, okay, Generations. Anyway,
Hey,
yeah. So, it was just like it really affected me, and then it's fitting that the first person I went out with was somebody I was in group therapy with. So
we just grew up in such different times, Atlas.
Mark went up on the board, yeah.
Like
so,
it's like you had a reason though, right? Like you're as we've discussed on this channel, your parents' divorce lasted longer than the Confederacy, which is a long time.
That's very funny to me. Yeah,
it is hilarious across the board. That's for sure. But that's I'll be honest with you, okay? My move with my ex-wife was me putting my arm from on the couch to the shoulder. That's it. That's all I could muster up to do. And that was it. Okay.
Yeah.
That was and then Victoria, oh man, it was 3 weeks before I kissed her.
Before you kissed her?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
And even then was it was like 4:00 in the morning. We were here because she invited me over to her house. This was not the first time. This was the second time that I'd been over to the house. We watched movies late into the night, and then it was like, oh, it's really late. I should go. And then I kind of was like, hey, I kissed her, and then got back, and I was like, oh, was that not okay? And she was like, no, it's cool. I'm like, well, I'm very suave then.
Yeah.
I'm Mr. Romance now. Yeah. And then from the top of her stairs, I heard her dad cough, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. The hilarious part was I was almost 30, but still hilarious. So
yeah,
it was just, I was probably a little younger than you are right now.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Oh, God.
So, so like we were in group therapy together, and then she got a crush on me, left the group, and then asked me out because.
Is that what you're supposed to do? Like, are you not supposed to date people in group?
Yes, I assume so. She didn't do it, like the therapist didn't ask her to leave. She did it on her own accord, and then.
Did she go to another group? Or
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, then she planned it. She wanted your wiener.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we were like 14, so.
So doesn't mean she can't. She doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think 14-year-olds are now whores or something.
Probably. Yeah.
It's weird now.
Zoomers figured that shit out way faster than we did, and we figured it pretty.
Just to be clear,
fast.
They figure it out. They don't figure it out. Nobody figures it out.
No.
Ever. You die, still haven't figured it out. You're like, I think I might have figured it out. Then you die, and people go, "Yeah, I didn't figure it." No, this is how you work a Rubik's cube. You know, it doesn't. Yeah. It's definitely.
And for the youngins watching this podcast, working in Rubik's Cube, that's foreplay. That's not a metaphor for foreplay. You sit in front of your smizmar or whatever she is, and then solve a Rubik's Cube, and then that's it. You win. That's foreplay.
Yeah, well,
okay.
Which is very important. Anyways, yeah.
So our first date was we went to the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. Watch last week's episode for, and then we just kind of like got like Starbucks and then walked up and down like 4 times talking, and then at the end,
that's great though. That's a great date.
Yeah. So at the end, she's the one calling the shots this whole thing. So I was like,
as women should.
Okay, yeah. I had a great time. I'd love to do this again. And then she says bye, leaves, comes running back, kisses me, and then leaves again.
That's exciting. That's very Hollywood, very California.
Yeah, it was.
Well, it's very peculiar, but hey, I understand it.
So yeah, it was just very it very caught me off guard. And then this was before they finished the metro train to the promenade, so I got picked up by my mom, and then she was like, "So how did it go?" And I was like, "It was fine." And then she's like, "You kissed her, didn't you?" Like, God damn it! Like, where your parents can see through you.
See, it's very weird. That's the thing is like, that was never a concern with my folks. So I'm like, I have no idea how, because I would watch movies too, and I'd be like, parents don't act like that. No, just my parents didn't act like that. They're like, they cared about, maybe they like you. And I'm like, no. I remember one girl who was also Jehovah's Witness, and she, me and her were we were talking on the phone. That was it. That's all we ever did. And some of it was a little bit mildly inappropriate. That was it. That was the bulk of it. And she called back, and my parents were like, "Oh, he's busy right now." I'm sitting right beside them, and I'm like, "What?" And my dad's like, "You don't need that girl." And I was like, "Oh, Jesus."
Oh,
yeah. And I was like,
"Was that in a good way or a bad way?" In hindsight.
It was the way. I don't know. I don't know which one. It was more so, no, that's not going to happen. And I was like,
your parents were just like, no, that's
the thing is, like, even my brother, the one that just passed away, he, there was something, it was another Greek family that was Jehovah's Witness that had a girl around the right age, and they had been talking, and it was like something maybe happening. So her dad went to my dad and goes, "So what's up? We're going to do this thing?" And my dad goes, "It's up to him. We're not getting involved." And he was like, "What? We always get involved because Greeks do these Greek things.
Yeah.
Greek families join and become very powerful, you know? It's the story of Batman." No, but yeah, and the guy was like, "What? We're not doing it. We're not getting involved." And I was like, "No, we let them decide. They're young adults. Let them decide what they want." And he chose not to. And so, yeah. And then, which I was like, who knows, right? But that would have been a different, our families might have become superpowers. It might have been exciting. Who knows? But you never know.
Jeez.
Could have taken over the world. It's a crazy time. That was before, those like the internet was just starting.
Oh.
Okay? Yeah. It was a long time ago.
Like early to mid 90s or?
Like mid to late. We're in Canada. We're delayed by like 5 years for technology.
Right. Yeah. But you guys are ahead by like 20 years for like healthcare. So
like 50, maybe 75. But
yeah.
No. But that's did your parents ever try and set you up?
No. Never. They never tried to set my sister up with anybody. No. I think it's because by the time we were of age to start dating, they hated each other.
Oh,
so that just
their own problems.
Yeah, that was like that's never like it just never found out what would have happened. The only way that would have been a thing is if like, all right, I have baby, you have baby, we will set them up as marriage first, as babies or whatever.
Historically, most successful marriages happen that way. Just gonna throw that out there.
Most arranged
man.
marriages happen that way. That's
Yeah, and you know what? They last. You know why? Because both of them will die if they divorce. That's how it happens. Okay, and then at that point you're going, we'll just stick it out.
You know it was bad when like two like monarchs would be married and they're like, they married for love. They're like, oh, that's interesting. That doesn't happen very often. That's not good.
Yeah, they loved each other's siblings. That's what actually happened.
Yeah.
It's really creepy because let's be honest.
They call that the Habsburg shuffle.
And, rich people are weird like that, and they're like, "Oh, we should all keep it in the family." You're like, "No, don't keep it in the family." That's
how Voldemort happened.
That is definitely why. That's how you look like Voldemort. That's for sure. I see. It was a weird time. Like when I was of age, we were already starting to like move away from like marriages being set up and stuff. Like my oldest brother, the woman that he married and is still married to after a gajillion years, they got married in 1990. So it's like a lifetime ago. That was before you were born.
Yeah. That's older than my sister.
Yeah. So it works out.
Feel old man. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So he was like, he said to my dad that he was interested in this girl. And my dad's like, okay, let's go. We'll go to her house. We'll get married tomorrow. No problem. Done. My brother's like, no, I just want to see her. What the hell? You know? And then my dad was coming home from work and saw my brother in his car driving down the highway. And he goes, why is he leaving the house? And he goes, I know where he's going. So sure enough, goes home, picks up my mom, and meets him at that girl's house.
Oh.
Yeah. And was like, what's up? What you doing here? And my brother was freaking out. But they were family friends. Like they knew each other.
Oh.
And they were of age. Like it was you could tell, like that's the thing is Jehovah's Witnesses hang out in groups, obviously, right? Like we associate together. And then as well, like one of those even smaller groups would be Greek people. So Greek people hang out with the Greek people because you have to be very Greek. If you're going to be Greek, you got to stay Greek, So and then people are going, listen, find a good. I went on after my divorce. I went out with one Greek girl, and I was like, the hell I'm doing that. You can go to hell. Like that's absolutely not. No, absolutely not. And because my parents were like, hey, maybe a good Greek girl is available. We'll find one for you. No problem. I'm like, please don't do that. They're like, listen, go to Greece, find yourself a Greek girl. Perfect. No problem. She will be top. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that either. Thank you. So, but that's so it was like I was at the end of that. That's why I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I don't even know how people meet. Like I hear about horror stories about people meeting friends, and I'm like, it's bad enough for people meeting friends. Could you imagine trying to get romantically involved? And then you're like, oh, people just meet up and have sex. I'm like, what the hell? God.
I know for like making friends, that's like a very that's
harder.
A very common problem for millennials and Zoomers is like you can't we have a hard time making friends in person. Not just because like, oh, they're on their phones and everything, because there's no real place to like congregate outside of school.
Yeah. Like listen, like there were arcades for me. Like there were underage clubs we would go to, and we would dance, and that song "Hey Fat Boy" would come on, and all the girls would dance with me. It was great. It was a great time to be alive. Yeah, because I was extremely fat, but also over 6 foot, which apparently chicks dig it.
That's one of those things where it's like, you know what, you're fine. Like.
I wasn't that fine. Let's be honest.
It's like when you have like a picture in Photoshop and you need to enlarge it. It's got to do both at the same time. You got to go tall and wide.
Yeah, you got to go from the corner so it stays.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just.
Yeah. Otherwise, it looks weird.
It always looks weird. It always.
But yeah, so the whole it's in media a lot, right? Where you have the like, oh, we've known each other since we were kids. Or whatever, and I'm realizing the older I get and the more people I meet, it's a terrible decision to like get with someone you've known since you were a kid.
I thought you were going to say to meet your neighbors, but
No. Meet your neighbors, good. No, yes, borrow sugar. Meet neighbors, good.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But like, the general rule of thumb is that if your butts were wiped next to each other, don't go out with each other. I think that's the
Well, you know what?
because when you date, you're trying to like put your most complete self to that person, and they don't need to see the time that you got knocked off your feet during a rainstorm and washed down the street. Or insert embarrassing childhood accident here.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I don't know. It's weird, right? Like,
by that time, my sister pushed me out of the treehouse. Whatever.
You probably deserved it. Let's be honest.
the defenestration of Bundy Drive. You know.
But that's I it's a weird thing, right? Because even like for my parents, they grew up with their family home still there, and it's still their family home. Like, it's not, like that when my parents moved, we moved, let's see, when I was born, we moved to Brampton, and then we moved after 10 years, and then it was another 12 to 15 years, and then they moved again, and that house is still where they are. And that's like that like the idea of moving homes was like, whoa. Because let's be honest, like, I come from a time when people were just like, I'm coming to see you because I remember I've been to your house like 20 years ago, and you better be there. And you're like, I'm not there, friend.
You mean they just show up and like hope you're there, right?
That happened. That happened when it was like, hey, I thought I'd come, and we're like, cool. There's an open bedroom, no problem. And it was our old next door neighbor, who was a childhood friend. Yeah, I still have him on Facebook. He's in Greece, but but that's why I don't. How do you? I can't even understand. Like, I can only imagine the impact of like doing class over Zoom and stuff like that. Because I know in college, I knew a few people only because like my only reference point was high school, and then the fact that I never showed up to class and just read the book, and I was like, yeah, it's easy. Only one teacher, and it was a English teacher who he looked he had a very rapey face, and he was like, if you don't show up to the class, you're not going to get a good mark. I'm like, why? The class is made so I can read the book and I should be able to pass with no problem. He's like, but you're not here. I'm like, oh, are we getting marked for attendance? Well, no, then that's not a thing. And you're just being a pompous egomaniac. And he was 5'2", and I'm like, you're the size of a child. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll drop the class. You're a loser. He's like, well, you needed to graduate. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, yeah, I stand by my principles. That guy's still a loser. I don't even remember his name. He had glasses and gay haircut. Anyways.
So I brought up first crushes. We shared our first crushes. Your first love, where like maybe it's different for you, where like it was that first relationship where if nothing went wrong, it could have kept going, but something happened.
I don't know, man. Like, realistically, even with having an ex-wife, like, that shit was weird for a long time. And even like I remember when this is funny. So we lived in the basement of my parents' house, where my mom still lives today. And we had built an apartment. It was very nice. And the day that my ex-wife left the house, I told her, I said, listen, you want to go out with your friends, and I'm telling you, you need to stay here. We need to handle this because obviously things aren't okay. She goes, well, I want to go out with my friends. I go, she goes, what are you going to do? Stop me? I go, yeah, I'm going to stop you from leaving. That's what's going to happen. Right. So
I'm the size of a door. I can do this. Yeah.
And then we keep on talking. I go, you know what? Let me change that. I go, if you want to leave, there's the door. I go, and if you leave and we haven't dealt with this, you're not welcome back here. It's that simple. And she goes, you sure? I go, 100%. She goes, okay. I'm like, cool. And she got to the door. She's like, you still sure? I'm like, I'm content with my decisions. I hope you are with yours. So 5 minutes pass. I kind of catch my breath and just go, okay, so that's happened.
So you just broke up. That was such a weird way to break up with someone.
Well, that was the start of divorce. It wasn't break up, right?
Well, I mean, like
yeah.
that's like how that happens. It's not like
Yeah.
yeah.
So I went upstairs and I went to my parents. I'm like, oh, she just left. And my mom's like, yeah, we just saw her. And I'm like, no, she's not coming back. And my mom goes, oh. Because remember, back then, like, divorce was unheard of. Like, if it happened,
Oh,
that traveled like wildfire. We were like,
oh,
a divorce?
course.
And then even the Greek community was like, a Greek? Oh, are you crazy? You know?
Yeah. That would be like if
Like,
like you tell the story of my parents' divorce, and they're like, a divorce? Like, yeah, that, duh. Like,
so the
yeah.
funny thing was, like, after 2 minutes of silence, man goes, she never really fit in. I'm like, thank you, Dad. That really helped. It really helped the situation. He's like, I'm just saying she never
Oh,
was okay with everybody, just saying. I'm
that
like, thank you,
was
Dad. Yeah.
yeah.
So like that was a difficult thing. And even now, right? Like Victoria and I have been together since like 2007.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a long time. And like any relationship, you have ups and downs, and I am responsible for most of the downs, and she's responsible for a 50-50 share of the ups. We both are. I'm responsible for more downs, but same for ups. I think that's
So
okay.
70-30 for the ups.
Probably.
Yeah, in her favor.
Yeah. She's a good person. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trash. But yeah, like even then, like for me, it's like I can't picture my existence without Victoria anymore, right?
Mhm.
Like, well, I can. It's mostly just hookers and blow, but and me just ending up in a gutter somewhere.
Yeah.
That's all I could picture. It's not going to be a good. Well, like it'll be a fun time, not a good time, but uh, that's
Jeez.
like I can't. So that would be my only answer. Like, love of my life
Yeah.
is be Victoria, right?
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, I could never understand. Oh, I couldn't even fathom dealing with someone else relationship wise. I would just
Same.
I would just be
Dude,
like, I'm out. Yeah.
for real. Like I keep seeing like posts about like, oh, I hate online dating and stuff, and I was like, I am
Sure.
so fucking glad. Like I got the last chopper out of Saigon. I met Katie during the pandemic during 2020, and that was
Last
before.
chopper out of Saigon. That
Yeah.
is. Oh, you need to put that on like a wedding band or something, bro. Because that's
Oh
fantastic.
no,
That's
no,
no,
no.
because Katie's great, right?
Yeah,
Like, let's be honest. And
yeah.
realistically, she keeps you not moronic, right? Like,
Hmm.
she is your keeps you even on a daily
Hmm.
basis, right? Because look, everybody goes through stuff, and that's not easy, right? But that's the whole point of a relationship is having somebody that you can lean on during
Hmm.
those times, right?
Yeah.
And who will be able to stand there going, hey, you're an idiot. And you're like, I know, I'm sorry. I was trying not to be an idiot, but you found me out. I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
I do that like at least 2-3 times a week.
yeah.
And she's like, why would you do that? I'm like, because I'm very stupid.
How she deals with it, I have no idea. I feel bad. Like, okay, I
Yeah.
almost feel a little happy when she does something stupid because I'm like, yes, one in her column. Like it's
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
one point on the board for
You can never mention
yeah,
it, but
yeah.
yeah, that's
No, it's for
you
me.
just
That's for me.
she knows. Yeah,
Yeah.
she knows. And that's all we never talk about it. It's just it's
Mhm.
fine.
Eh,
Like I do because I'm an asshole, but that's different. Like I'm a
For
piece of shit.
for me, I think like my first actual love was the girl I dated in college.
Mm.
So we met like during freshman orientation, and I
Ooh.
remember meeting my freshman roommate and him being like, "Hey, so I'm gonna bring a lot of girls by, so you better get ready."
Oh
And I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay." We both met people that we ended up dating for the entirety of us being in college that first quarter. So uh, a bid wherever you are. Hope it's doing well for you, buddy. Um, so yeah, but
That's so good.
I just love that it's like the thing where it's like I'm gonna do this, does the opposite.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
no,
well that's yeah. But also too, like that's a very formative time in your
hmm,
existence, right? Like that's the weird part. Like I know a couple from high school I actually went to grade school with him, so I've known him since grade 2 or 3. His name is Graham.
Okay.
And he started dating a girl. They were both gingers with freckles, which she was cute, but also really gross. So
So
I believe they're
if
still
they
together.
have a kid, that means it'll go so far into pale it comes out the other side and it'll be like dark black.
It's,
It's like on Photoshop where you go too far to one side, it comes out the other.
I think that's caused by something else, but yes. So
Yeah. In Photoshop, yeah, for sure.
it's but yeah, no, they're still together, and you're like, that's awesome, but also like that's a very difficult existence too, right? Like
Mhm.
it's hard. I question the ease of that existence because like if you are in a relationship and that's all you've ever known, that's great. But when the shit hits the fan,
Mhm.
it's a way different. It's a lot. It's like a metric ton of shit hitting an
Mhm.
industrial fan. Like it just goes everywhere, right?
So like,
So and like look, I don't wish that on anybody.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, right? Like that's because life happens. That's fine. But it's
Mhm.
like when you go through, and especially like high school students are stupid, right? Well, university students are also stupid, but and some adults are too. But um, like that's
The
when you're still.
percentage of stupidity narrows as you get older, but it's still there. But it's like,
It doesn't
yeah,
narrow a lot. I
yeah.
found that it's kind of it's along the same lines as who you realize ends up staying single and doesn't really people who found their look in like grade 9 and then never change. You're like, there's a reason why they're not smart. Um, so that it's when you go through that. Sorry, I've eaten like an entire pound of pulled pork today, and I don't regret it at all. I feel great, but
I
I've been
still
purging.
love that you're like, I'm gonna smoke a pork shoulder. I'm like, shoulder doesn't sound like an especially appetizing part of anything.
I think
Um,
it may still be the butt, but at the same time, here I
yeah,
even
pork butt I get, but like, oh yeah, look at that. That does not seem especially anything, you know. Um,
hey, if the lady likes it, a little it's delicious. But hey, listen, hold
yeah.
on. I uploaded it.
Okay, guys, so this is the result of all my hard work. There's the pulled pork, all the vegetables that were underneath. My wife made coleslaw yesterday, and I'll tell you, it looks delicious. It smells incredible. So 6 hours, man. This is the best part about OMAD is now I'm just gonna eat this.
It was awesome. I'll tell you that right now. It was fantastic. But
It looked kind of dry. Was it not dry
so
or?
so it wasn't dry. There was a portion, so I tried to lift it up out of because I had it in a tray
Yeah.
with vegetables on the bottom. And the problem was that when I wanted to let it sit for an hour after I cooked it, but I
Mhm.
couldn't actually take it out of the tray without it breaking apart. So I had to leave it in the tray. So part of it that was still had the fluid around, like the goo around it, kind
Mhm.
of dried out. It wasn't bad, but most of it was very, very good.
Mhm.
It was very moist and fatty and delicious. I need to add fat to it. I found, but it
Oh.
was, yeah. I'm gonna go with Victoria to the Asian grocery store and get because you can ask them for like a special cut and like you can pick and choose. Whereas I just went to Costco and I'm like, yeah, you
Yeah.
know. So, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna start experimenting more. But also, my first love, food. Haha.
Yeah, I don't know. Food is everybody's first love. No, but like, so we met as freshmen, and then like it
Yeah.
went pretty well up through like senior year, and then senior year she joined sorority, and
Ooh. Who
they
joins a sorority on the senior year?
or
That's
sorry, no, junior year.
okay.
Okay, so joined it as a junior, and then like they just kind of stole her. Not like
Yeah.
not like I'm not trying to be possessive or anything, but it just kind of she was always busy with them. I
Yeah, yeah.
felt hurt. Um,
Sure.
and then eventually one night she drunk dialed me and then broke up with me.
Oh,
And
that's
I kind of knew like the writing was on the wall by that point, and I was like,
yeah,
fuck.
that happens.
So I felt awful. And
Mm,
the next day she like called and like, no wait, we can fix it. I was like, truth serum, man. I can't like, you know.
yeah. Well, see, that's the weird part is that I've seen both sides of those things where people are like, we
Mhm.
can fix this. And you're like, you can,
Yeah.
but it's so much work to fix that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like
And we were
it's a
about to
worthwhile endeavor.
graduate too, and like yeah.
Yeah, tough. It's a very tricky. That's the one thing about love is that you never really, even when you think you know what you're talking about, you're like, oh no, this is just a block of butter, and you
Mhm.
miss it up. You know, like it's you feel like who was it from Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Which one?
Doyle,
Doyle?
Boyle,
Yeah.
Boyle,
Boyle.
who's like
Yeah.
oh, he drops his phone. He's like, my
Yeah.
hands are covered in butter because I was
Yeah.
touching butter, and you're like,
Yeah.
why were you touching butter, man? Like that's kind
I,
of
I gotta
you
watch
know,
that show again.
it's a great show, right?
It is a great show. It's a little propaganda, but it's a good show.
Oh, for sure. Listen,
Yeah.
realistically, they could use something positive because there's a lot of negative out there.
Yeah.
So, but that's like the whole idea is that it's love can be you don't have insight into the other person's mind, so it's so hard to analyze and pick it apart because like oh god, the problem that Victoria has dealing with me is most often that I will have gone down a spiral of negativity for a perceived slight because of her actions,
Mhm.
and I am just in a piss poor mood all day. You know, that's it. That happens. Why? Because I'm a bitch. That's I am a bitch sometimes. That's just honest, right? But that's you kind of have to just roll with that kind of stuff. It's
Mhm.
hard, but that's why love is great. I remember talking to a buddy of mine. He's got 3 kids now, and when the third one was coming along, he was terrified. He's like, "They're gonna outnumber us. I don't know what to do." I'm like,
They're
"Get
gonna
fucked."
outnumber us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, "You're gonna get fucked over, buddy. Sorry. Good luck."
I forget which
No.
comic it is, but he has a bit about like when you go from having one kids to having two, you go from zone coverage to man to man.
Yeah,
Um, and
which is it was way
yeah,
harder. And
and then once you have 3 kids, you're back to zone coverage again, and like
oh, and you're losing.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
losing.
You got to pick. That's when you have to start picking your battles as to like, just let them get away with it.
Yeah,
Just give them.
or have the oldest kid old enough to where they could be like your little mini like you know.
Sure. Well, that's the funny part was like even for him, he's like, you know what? The only thing worse than having kids is not having kids. Like that's for people who want to be parents, like that's their whole
Mhm.
thing, right? But then at the same time, you're like, there are a lot of people who want to have kids that should not have kids too,
Yeah.
right? So, like me, I've been pretty horrible most of my life. If I had kids early on, who knows how they may have been in jail, right?
Mhm.
Now, they would definitely be, I'm assuming, spies of some sort. Maybe like they would infiltrate other countries. Who knows? But they would be much better off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So all I can say from like that relationship ending is that it was it led to a bit of a downward spiral, and then uh slowly got better over time. But I think it's important to like have these moments of your
Oh yeah,
first crush telling you to fuck off, your first love breaking up with you over the phone or leaving the house.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's kind of what makes you who you are as a person and how you do better in future relationships. Because if you're
Yeah.
going in relationships and then leaving and not using those to get good, as the kids say, then
Yeah.
it's you're not doing life right.
No, that's
Um,
that. Do you ever think like now? I'll be honest with you, Atlas. Like I definitely think along the lines of accumulated experiences have brought me to a good place. Finally, right? Like just all of the stuff that's happened. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
now I figure. Okay, I can take one step up. Okay, these
yeah.
are all done. I figured out how to get just a little bit higher. Both just in existence in general. But like, do you think that I don't know. It's like I think that's very worth it. What do you think?
What to have all those experiences?
Yeah,
It's
like like the only thing worse is to not have them, right? Like
yeah. Only thing worse than losing love is not having it in the first place. I think.
for sure, for
Um,
sure.
and I think it's worth it for all that work. And to listener/viewer, what was your first crush/first love like? What happened? Was it hilarious? Put it in the comments below, or tweet at us at Generation Dan on Twitter, or Generation_Dan on Instagram.
I feel like we're just getting a message of people going, "Ma, it was horrible." I don't know. Yeah, but no, anyway, it's. I can only imagine. I don't think I've loved too much in my life, but a decent amount. You know, I feel like there are some people who just love. They love to love, and those people freak me out. I'm like, you're definitely a murderer of some sort.
Aw, leave those people alone. They're the only reason we have like charities and
I
food
believe
baskets. And
they're
stuff
the
like
kind
that.
of people that drive a Saturn. They're like, hey, I always wave at other Saturns. Hi.
Yeah, no, definitely. Oh, come on, leave those people alone. Even though they're very punchable, but they're nice people.
I said I dislike them. You're like, I'm going to commit acts of violence, but they're good people.
Yeah.
That's a juxtaposition if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where can people find you and follow you?
At Dino the Genetic Marvel. I'm all sorts of places. And realistically, I'm going to be finishing up a 30-day series tonight on my channel at 10 p.m., which is in 1 hour.
At the time of recording this.
At the time of recording this, yeah. And I'm just telling about how I went from 450-pound land manatee to a debutante of the size of small cattle. It's quite nice. I'm just saying it's sundress season and I'm out. No.
Okay, now I have to see a picture of you in a sundress. It has to happen. Go buy one and make it happen. Get a moo.
I'm still too fat, and it will look like a moo. So, but you know what? Okay. Listen, I'll tell you. I'll do that trend that's on TikTok where ladies wear a sundress and then have the sun shine from behind so you can see their business. Yeah. And I'll just have my wang out. It'll be fine. It'll be great.
I haven't even seen that trend, but okay.
I'm a pervert, so I've seen it all.
You're disgusting. So, You're incredibly disgusting. You can follow 100%. Me at Atlas Novak on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or on YouTube, also known as the Epileptic Comic. It's all sketches about having epilepsy or just other stuff that I decide to make sketches on. It's very apropos of nothing. And then you can also follow my other podcast at Nexus at Night, which is about a trading card game called Card Fight Vanguard. So that's fun. And then, thanks everybody for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.